Hi everybody, it's Nikki here, and say with me, it's Bookgammon time. Yes, it is that time of the month where I play my TBR game Bookgammon, which is based off the board game Backgammon. To help me pick my TBR for the upcoming month, today we will be playing for September, so let me put her down because you know she gets noisy. Okay, so starting off with the housekeeping, first bit is my priority picks for September. Priority picks are the books that were on my current month of TBR, so in this case August, that I did not get to. Now if you watched my August Bookgammon TBR video, you will know that I already had a TBR picked out for August because I was taking part in the magical readathon hosted by G from Book Rose channel, but I decided to play Bookgammon with the rest of the prompts from the magical readathon just in case I had time to read any extra books. Well, I can tell you I didn't have any extra time at all, so I did not get to a single book from the Bookgammon TBR in August, not at all. So I have Rainbow Grey Battle for the Skies, which is book 3 in the series by Laura Ellen Anderson. I have The Kiss of Deception, which is book 1 by Mary E. Pearson. Then I have The Deal, which is book 1 in the series by L. Kennedy. I have The Thorns Remain, which I believe is a standalone by J.J.A. Harwood. And then I have Fandemonium, which is the second book in the Wicked and Divine series by Glenn McKelvey, Wilson and Cowles. So yeah, I didn't get to a single one of these, not even the graphic novel. So these are all going to be priority picks, so if any of these books can fulfill any of the prompts that I pulled today during today's gameplay, then I will fill it with one of these books before I look to fill it on the books that are still on my shelves. The next bit of housekeeping is of course my star book and my bomb book. So for the bomb book for September, I have chosen a book that I purchased the first 3 books in the series from a charity shop at a time when I was just buying books to fill my shelves. And that is Ratcatcher by James McGee. And it says, "You don't send a gentleman to catch a vermin, you send Hawkwood." So as you can see from the front cover of this, we've got a bit of a cowboy gun slinging sort of guy on there. And it says, "The rich hate him, thieves fear him, but women love him." He's a man with a past that worries some in high places, but the chief magistrate thinks he's just right for a crucial mission because London is not only home to arrogant aristocrats and pickpockets, but French spies, rogue inventors and other enemies of England. So this gives me kind of Lies of Loch Lamora kind of vibes, but it's been sat on my shelves for so long, since like 2019, and I still haven't picked it up. So it is going to be my bomb book because to be honest, I don't hold out much hope for it. However, if I land on my star token this month, then I have chosen Shadowplay by Tad Williams as my star book for this month. Now, if you have been watching my Bookgammon videos for a while, you will know that the first book in this series, Shadow March, was actually my bomb book back in January of this year, but also in August this last month. So the fact that its sequel, Shadowplay, is now my star book might give you a little bit of a tip off as to how I felt about Shadow March in August. So yes, I did manage to finish Shadow March finally. So I am putting this on as my star book. You'll have to wait for my wrap up to find out what I actually thought about Shadow March, but I am so excited for this one now, and I really hope that I get my star book because I really wanted to just nip straight into this as soon as I finish Shadow March, but I held off and I thought, no, I will put it as my star book and hope and pray that Bookgammon is kind to me for the month of September. So that is, of course, all of the housekeeping done. So let's roll to gameplay and see if she is naughty or nice for me for the September. Okay, so let's remind ourselves of the categories. Red is thriller, pink is contemporary, orange is classic, green is middle grade, yellow is graphic novels and mangas, purple is non-fiction, and blue is fantasy and sci-fi. We have our prompt cards here, so let's give them a shuffle. Let's place our star token and bomb token. Let's place the bomb token first. So number generator, number 16. So 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So we are on a thriller piece here. And for the star token, number 10. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we are on the ebook space. So we have our dice. We are playing with 2 pieces today. So any odd doubles will make us go backwards, and an even double means we go forward. So our first roll. 2 and 5. So 1, 2, a children's, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a contemporary. So the contemporary is set near or on a beach, and the children's is a debut. Roll number 2. 3 and 4. Okay. Let's do this one. 3, 1, 2, 3, and this one 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So they've both landed on a yellow, so that's just one prompt, which is a graphic novel or manga. And the prompt is author isn't British. Our third roll, can we hit the star book? We need a 2 or a 4. Oh no. So we got a double 1, which is an odd number, which means we have to go backwards. So back 1, back 1. So contemporary and a classic. Okay, so the contemporary prompt is newest purchase, and our classic is oldest on TBR. Roll number 4. Now we need a 3 or a 5 to get that star book. 1 and a 2. Okay, so that's 1 and 1, 2 for a manga graphic novel and a non-fiction. So the manga graphic novel is next in series, and the non-fiction is a biography. Now I haven't got any fiction, fantasy on there at the moment, so yay! A 1 and a 3, we have landed on the star book. Yes! So we take the star book for the month. And we remove the bomb book. So now we move this one 3. 1, 2, 3. So we need a non-fiction prompt. And the non-fiction prompt is true crime. Okay, on to roll 6. A 4 and a 6. Okay, I'm going to move this one 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. For a fantasy, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for a contemporary. So the contemporary is one that is recommended by a friend, and the fantasy is an adult fantasy. On to roll number 7. a 4, 4 and a 3. So, if we're clever, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4. So they've both landed on the same triangle again. So just one prompt for a classic. And it needs to have a wealthy character. Many of the old classics have wealthy characters in them. Okay, on to roll 8. A 4 and a 2. Okay, so 1, 2. So we've landed on an ebook space. And 1, 2, 3, 4, another contemporary. So just the one prompt for the contemporary. And the prompt is, will I unhaul after? So this basically means a book that I think I might unhaul after I've finished it. Roll number 9. Can we get home? 6 and 4. So 1, 2, and that one is home. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Yes, we are home. We've got it. We are home, and that is Bookgammon over for another month. So that was gameplay. Yes, I got my Starbucks. I'm so happy. Okay, so for roll number 1, our first book was a middle grade and we got a debut. Now I did have a look at the middle grades that were on those priority picks, but unfortunately the only middle grade I had was the 3rd book in a series, so not a debut. So instead I went for The Last Firefox by Lee Newberry. I have checked and this does seem to be his debut novel. This is illustrated by Laura Catalan as well. And it's got beautiful orange sprayed edges. I do believe that the 2nd book of this is either out this year or is already out now. But you know, it's a really floppy book, which I really like. It says, you need to be brave for yourself before you can be brave for other people. Swept up into an unexpected adventure to protect his flammable friend, Charlie's going to need to find the bravery he never thought he had if he's going to save the last Firefox. Our second prompt for roll number 1 was the contemporary set near or on a beach. So for that one, I am going to be picking Emily Henry's You and Me on Vacation, 2 best friends, 10 summer trips, their last chance to fall in love. Now, I do really enjoy Emily Henry's books. I have enjoyed all of the ones that I've read so far. This summer, Poppy asks Alex to join her on one last trip. Could this trip make them realise they're not just friends after all? Ooh, we shall see, we shall see. Knowing it's an Emily Henry book, I'm guessing there's a romance ensuing. So that is that one. For roll number 2, our pieces both landed on the same colour. So we only had the one prompt, and that was a graphic novel or manga. And it says the prompt was author is not British. I have that prompt because I am British and I want to obviously be reading books from other cultures and other places to widen my scope, I suppose. And now a lot of you are going to say, well, a lot of manga is Japanese, but I decided not to go for a manga. I went for American. So this is The Little Mermaid, the full film script. So obviously Walt Disney is American, and obviously Hans Christian Andersen, who wrote the original Little Mermaid, is Dutch. I want to say, is he Dutch? I think he's Dutch. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I do apologise if I am wrong there. But the reason why I decided to pick this is because the live action movie is going to be released on September the 6th onto Disney+. And although I saw it twice in the cinema with my daughter, I can't get enough of that film. I want to watch it again and again and again, and I love the original movie, which is, this is the full script of the animated Little Mermaid. It's not the full script of the live action movie, but I'm just in that Little Mermaid mood. So for role number 3, our first prompt was contemporary, and the prompt for that is newest purchase. So I went with this one. I got this from The Works. It is Tessa Bailey's Secretly Yours. So it looks like we have more of a plus size female character there. And it just says, Hallie Welch fell hard for Julian Voss at 14 after they almost kissed in the dark vineyards of his family's winery. Now the prodigal hottie has returned to their small town. When Hallie is hired to revamp the gardens on the Voss estate, she wonders if she's finally going to get that smooch. But the grumpy professor isn't the teenager she remembers, and their polar opposite personalities clash spectacularly. One wine-fueled girls' night out later, Hallie can't shake the sense that she did something reckless, and then she remembers the drunken secret admirer letter she left for Julian. Oh shit. Our second prompt for role number 3 was a classic, and that was the oldest on my TBR. So I had a look through my books, and the oldest one I have now is The Hound of the Baskervilles and the Valley of Fear by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Again, another floppy paperback. So of course, The Hound of the Baskervilles is a chilling tale presenting Sherlock Holmes with one of his most challenging cases. The young Sir Henry Baskerville, the new master of the Baskerville estate, is haunted by a phantom beast with blazing eyes and dripping jaws, which roams the mist-enshrouded moors around isolated Baskerville Hall on Dartmoor. Is this fiendish spectre the manifestation of the family curse, or is Sir Henry the victim of a scheming murderer? Really looking forward to this, even though I haven't read any classics, I think, this year so far. We will see. We will see if September breaks that. So, our role number 4. Our first prompt was a manga or graphic novel, the next in series. Now, this is where finally I can pick one of my priority picks. I had, of course, the sequel to the first, The Wicked and Divine, on my August TBR. So the sequel, Pandemonium, is the next in the series. So this is my priority pick. So I am going to be reading this. This says, every 90 years, 12 gods return as young people. They are loved, they are hated. In 2 years, they are all dead. It's happening now, and it's happening again. So I really like the artwork in here. We have some really funky looking artwork. So yes, I'm going to be reading that one. Our second prompt for role number 4 was non-fiction, and to read a biography. Now, I'm not a massive fan of reading biographies of like modern people. So I don't own any biographies. So I downloaded onto my Scribd The Lady in the Tower, The Fall of Anne Boleyn by Alison Weir, who's a well-known historian. And it says, the imprisonment and execution of Queen Anne Boleyn, Henry VIII's second wife, in 1536 was unprecedented in English history, and never before has there been a book more devoted entirely to her fall. But here, Alison Weir has reassessed the evidence and created a richly researched and detailed portrait of the last days of one of the most influential and important figures in English history. So, hopefully, there is the thing. I know it's only small, but so that is a 16-hour and 53-minute audiobook. So hopefully I will listen to that for that prompt. For role number 5, we landed on our star book. Yes, we did. So I get to read the amazing Shadow Play. I am so excited for this. I am so glad. I know she's a chonker, but actually once I really got invested into the story of Shadow March, it flew by. So yes, I'm really looking forward to this. Oh, it's just an amazing story. I loved it, and I cannot wait to see where the story is going to lead to next. The second role for role number 5, so the second prompt for role number 5 was non-fiction, and that is a true crime. Now I did have a look on my shelves and I did consider something, but then I had a look on Scribd because I would like to get some audiobooks in, and I found this book. It's called Killing the Guys Who Killed the Guy Who Killed Lincoln, a nutty story about Edwin Booth and Boston Corbett. It is written and narrated by Jesse Joyce, so it's narrated by the author as well. And it says, there is no question that you've heard of the fiendish American scoundrel John Wilkes Booth, famously known as the man who assassinated President Abraham Lincoln on April the 15th, 1865. But chances are that you know considerably less about the bizarre story of Edwin Booth and Boston Corbett, the men who killed the man who killed Lincoln. If you aren't familiar with Booth's and Corbett's roles in the course that led to Lincoln's unfortunate demise and the violent reckoning thereafter, then you're about to get a doozy of a history lesson. So yeah, I'm quite excited for this book. It's only 2 hours and 47 minutes on Scribd. This is the cover of it. So very excited to listen to that one, because again, I'm a lover of history, so I am going to learn something new. So moving on to role number 6, our first prompt was a fantasy, and the prompt is an adult fantasy. Pretty much the only fantasy I managed to get on apart from my Starbuck. So I decided to go, seeing as we're in like a fantasy mood with a lot of these books, I decided to go for some smutty adult romance fantasy. I'm going to be reading Hooked by Emily McIntyre. And this, I had this on my Kindle for quite some time, but didn't get around to reading it. It is basically a James Hook kind of reimagining. So he wants revenge, but he wants her more. James has always had one agenda: destroy his enemy, Peter Michaels. When Peter's 20-year-old daughter, Wendy, shows up in James' bar, he sees his way in, seduce the girl and use her for his revenge. It's a perfect plan until things in James' organisation begin to crumble. Suddenly he has to find the traitor in his midst, and his plan for revenge gets murkier as James starts to see Wendy as more than just a pawn in his game. I'm going for adult, as in because of the content, you know. Lots of content warnings in here. So, yeah. Oh, there's also a playlist. Okay. So, yeah. Author's note. Hooked is a dark contemporary romance. It is an adult fractured fairy tale. And that's where I'm getting it from. It's an adult fairy tale. Fractured fairy tale. So I'm counting that as adult fantasy. It's not fantasy or a retelling. I know that, but it's based on a fantasy. Like I said, again, my rules. The main character is a villain, and if you're looking for a safe read with redemption and a bad guy turned into a hero, you will not find it in these pages. Hooked contains sexually explicit scenes as well as mature and graphic content that is not suitable for all audiences. Reader discretion is advised. I much prefer for you to go in blind, but if you would like a list of detailed triggers, you can find them on emilymcintyre.com. I can't wait. Yes, I know, she says it's not a fantasy, and it's for the prompt adult fantasy, but it's based on a fantasy fairy tale. It's definitely adult. And like I say, I've already got shadow play on my TBR. I do not want to be putting in another big chunky epic fantasy, which is the only really other thing that I've got for an adult fantasy. Adult fantasies do tend to be chunkier books, and I already have shadow play, so I'm doing it. If you don't agree with me, that is entirely your opinion, but I'm reading it, so I'm happy. Even my husband agrees. And the second prompt for roll number 6 is contemporary, recommended by a friend. Now, I did pick this up when one of my friends, and I can't remember who, it was either Charlotte or Joe, one of the two of you. Actually, I think both of you might have mentioned it at different times, but I picked this up. This is Twisted Love by Anna Huang. He has a heart of ice, but for her, he'd burn the world. I picked this up because I think they both, in their own time, asked me if I had seen this series and if I was interested in it and if I was going to read it. And I was like, oh, I don't own it, I'll buy it, or I'm thinking of reading it. So yeah, it was definitely put on my to reread list because my friends were basically saying, have you read this? So we have Alex Volkov is a devil blessed with the face of an angel and cursed with a past he can't escape. Driven by a tragedy that's haunted him for most of his life, his ruthless pursuits for success and vengeance leave little room for matters of the heart. But when he's forced to look after his best friend's sister, he starts to feel something in his chest. A crack, a melt, a fire that could end his world as he knew it. So yes, I'm going to be reading that one. For roll number 7, we only have the one prompt as both pieces landed on the same space. So we have another classic. And the prompt for this is a wealthy character. So for that one, I had to have a look. I had to have a look at the synopsis, and I finally came across The Hunchback of Notre Dame by Victor Hugo. I love the animated Disney version. It speaks to my heart. I love the music in it. So this says, set in 1482, Victor Hugo's powerful novel of imagination, caprice and fantasy is a meditation on love, fate, architecture and politics, as well as a compelling recreation of the medieval world at the dawn of the modern age. In a brilliant reworking of the tale of Beauty and the Beast. Did not know it was a retelling of the Beauty and the Beast. Anyway, Hugo creates a host of unforgettable characters, amongst them Quasimodo, the hunchback of the title, hopelessly in love with the gypsy girl Esmeralda, the satanic priest Claude Frollo, Clopin Trouillefou, king of the beggars. Please forgive my French, I'm awful. And Louis VI, king of France. There's my wealthy character. You can't get more wealthier than a king of France. Over the entire novel, both literally and symbolically, broods the Cathedral of Notre Dame. Vivid characters and memorable set-piece action scenes combine to bring the past to life in this story of love, lust, betrayal, doom and redemption. So yes, I will hopefully be listening to this on audiobook, as I do with most of my classics. So hopefully we can get through this if I get to it. As I say, I haven't read many, if any, classics so far this year. I've just not been in the mood. I've been in a reading slump for the first 6 months of the year, and classics was just going to keep me there if I read them. So anyway, for our last and final roll, our first prompt was to read an ebook. So I am going to be reading the second book, The Traitor Queen. There is the cover, and I'll not give you the synopsis for The Traitor Queen, but the synopsis for The Bridge Kingdom, which is the first book in this series, says a warrior princess trained in isolation, Lara is driven by two certainties. The first is that King Aaron of the Bridge Kingdom is her enemy, and the second is that she'll be the one to bring him to his knees. The only route through a storm-ravaged world, the Bridge Kingdom enriches itself and deprives its rivals, including Lara's homeland. So when she's sent as a bride under the guise of peace, Lara is prepared to do whatever it takes to fracture its impenetrable defences and the defences of its king. Yet as she infiltrates her new home and gains a deeper understanding of the war to possess the bridge, Lara begins to question whether she's the hero or the villain. And as her feelings for Aaron transform from frosty hostility to fierce passion, Lara must choose which kingdom she'll save and which kingdom she'll destroy. So yeah, that is the synopsis of the first book, but I am going to be reading the second book, The Traitor Queen. And our final prompt for the game was another contemporary. We're very contemporary heavy this month. And the prompt was, will I unhaul after? So that is a question that I am going to ask myself when I read this book. The book I've chosen for that is Me After You. No, not Me After You, just After You by Jojo Moyes. This is of course the sequel of Me Before You, which I read way, way, way before it ever became a film. I remember going to my local library and there was a table just inside the doorway, and it was this initiative where the front page of the book had this book was read by, and then there was loads of like lines for you to write your name in. And the initiative and the idea was to see how far a book could travel. So you would read it and then put your name on it, pass it along, the next person would read it, they would put their name on it, and eventually you would see that one book could travel to multiple people, that books are great for sharing. It was trying to get across this idea of sharing the love of books. And so I read Me Before You. You were given a free copy to keep as well. It was a free copy that you could keep, and it was for this initiative. And I read it, and then it came out as a film, and I love the film. I love the film because I love the actress that plays the Lou Clark. She's just so great, and she plays the part so well. I love her as an actress, and yeah, I really loved it. And so when Charlotte said that she had After You, which is the sequel, I asked if I could have it after she'd finished with it, and she sent me it, and I have still not got around to reading it. Luckily she doesn't want it back afterwards, so we're not keeping it from her. But yeah, so the story was that Lou Clark was a young woman, who had just lost her job in a cafe, and instead got a job looking after a paraplegic man. And it's a very sad story. It has a very sad ending, but it's very heartfelt and very heartwarming as such, and ends almost with some sense of hope, some sense of, you know, living your life to the full while you can, kind of thing. So this one is obviously going to continue Lou Clark's story. Yeah, so this is the book that I've chosen for that prompt. So that is my TBR for the month of September. That's a lot of books. We have 14 books. Not gonna lie, I'm probably not gonna get to all of them. My current reading is about 8 to 10 books a month, so there are gonna be some of these that I just don't get to. Now, the fact that some of these are contemporaries probably might make me read a little bit faster, because I do tend to get through those quicker. But we shall see. We shall see what I get to. Are any of these books on your TBR this month? Are you interested in reading any of these books? If you are, let me know in the comment section below this video. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.